back to the Now Morning Show, where the last time our next guest was on set with us, he was releasing the second volume of his historic buildings and landmarks of Trinidad and Tobago book, giving us a little bit of context to sights and sounds that we don't really think about too much. This time around, in his latest publication, Richard Ramirez is giving us the vanishing arts and traditions of Trinidad and Tobago. It is an effort to capture and celebrate important parts of our cultural heritage. This morning, I am excited to have this conversation, particularly from cover to content. Good morning and welcome back, Mr.
Good
Ramirez.
morning, Aika. How are you today?
I am delighted. Every time you come, you bring books to add to my collection. But this one is particularly meant to celebrate things that we did before, not necessarily to talk about what is lost per se. And I appreciate that tremendously. We have a lot of rich historic culture that generations may not have experienced. So before we get into the physical of the book or anything of this sort, what was the genesis of this concept?
Well, this book started about 4 years ago. And I was sort of capturing some of the things that I felt we were losing. And when I started it, it was actually called The Dying Arts of Trinidad and Tobago. And as I progressed into it, I realized these things aren't dying. They're metamorphosizing into what we have now. You know, simple things like, you know, the wire bending that we used to associate with Carnival. That was fantastic. The artisans who did that were, I mean, beyond amazing. Right. But the reality is we have moved away from some of the wire bending now because we have access to things like fiberglass rods. So we've transitioned. Right. So that's where it's come from. So, you know, I thought about it and I said, this dying arts thing sounds very negative, right. And it really doesn't need to be. This really is a genuine celebration of where we are and how we got here. So that was the whole idea behind it. And
speaking of where we are, the first thing I noticed is that the cover looked a little AI-generated to me, which was odd in thought because you do photography. We're
Correct.
Talking about traditional things. What is the story behind that visual?
Very, very good question. So this book has an element of AI in it. I used all the tools available. Remember, a lot of these arts don't exist anymore. And it's difficult to grab my camera and go and photograph something that's not there. So to get images in here, I would have used a camera. I would have used our Photoshop tools to put things in places where they don't exist anymore. And with some instances, I had to actually get in there and use AI to generate it. And, you know, people think for a photographer, AI is a bad word. AI is not a bad word. AI is another tool. When you look at a photo in the newspapers, you never think, was this taken with a Nikon or a Canon? You know, we don't do that. So when you are able to use AI works the same way that my camera works. I start with an image in the back of my head, and I get out there with the camera and I make all my adjustments and move things to create the image. AI just allows me to do it on a screen. So yes, some of the images would be AI augmented, some are actually full AI because they don't exist. So I'm trying to capture something from my memory, a simple thing like the ice lolly man. Oh gosh, I cannot tell you what the feeling was like when I heard the bells at the end of the street. Aww. It blew my mind. My brother, my sister, we would scramble around the house looking for coins. Correct. Because you had to go get something from him.
1-on-1 foot, and you have to catch him.
Correct. But that doesn't really exist anymore. The ice lolly man that moved around, he isn't there. Because we now have so many commercially available ice creams and ice lollies. Right. So, you know, we could go to the grocery and for a few pennies get something that we enjoy.
Entirely different experience. Yeah. Now, that is all the more reason to create these sorts of documents, but it is also why it's so painstaking or tedious. You said 4 years ago and made it seem like that's a relatively short period of time, but that was how many years of research and documenting then?
Yeah, it does take some time, and you know, it's about putting out the correct information. But this book differs from the previous ones. The previous two I did were on buildings, and buildings are buildings. There's facts on the buildings and maybe a little bit of emotion. But this is pure emotion here. This is when you look at these images, even before you read the words, you look at the images and you immediately remember, this is what my childhood was like. This is what I'd like to share with my kids or my grandkids.
A valid point there, because as we were saying before, generations before us, or sorry, after us, have not experienced a lot of these things. Post-pandemic, we have a very different Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm wondering if there's any one that sticks out to you more than the other that you hope the next couple of generations get to live vicariously through your book with.
Well, I don't know that there's any one, because, you know, this book captures about 60 different arts and traditions. But I've just scratched the surface there. You know, there's so much more. What I did when I got fairly deep into the book, I took a small sample of about 20 and I sent it out to maybe 35, 40 friends via WhatsApp and said, this is where I'm going with this. Give me some ideas.
Right.
Because I wanted to see if the things I had written about would be things that would resonate with them.
Right.
I want to say I got probably about 80% response, and most of those were the same thing over and over. People would, everything that I had in there was things that people would say, and there were one or two that I hadn't thought about. But I've kind of put them off on a side list, so one never knows.
Well, the last time you were here, it was a multiple series book.
Correct.
Will this be multiples?
This one may or may not, I'm not sure as yet, but I'm going back. Last time I was here, I did the historic buildings 1 and 2, and I promised you a white one, which was going to be 3. That's in the works right now, so it's still coming. I want to go back and finish that series.
Okay, fair.
But there's so much to capture. We have such a rich history. Our heritage is so strong. It's amazing. I don't think that we really understand sometimes what we have. Agreed. So this idea here is slowly capture these things. I'm trying to get some meetings with the Minister of Culture, the Minister of Public Administration. They're a little busy now, so I'm hoping at some point they'll take my call and set up some meetings, because I have such large plans to expand on some of the things I'm doing. Okay.
Any that you're going to share with us, because we do need to know how to find the book, but plans are always good.
Yeah, well, I have something that's coming in the next month or two. I'll surprise you with it. So I'll hold back on that just a little bit, but that's, in my mind, is even bigger than this. But as far as where you get the book right now, you can pre-order. The books are going to be here, I want to say, end of September, early October.
Good month.
So I want to launch officially in October. But you can pre-order or just send us a note by visiting our website, www.richardramirezimaging.com, or send an email to info@richardramirezimaging.com. We're happy to chat with you. We'll take your pre-orders if you'd like. You don't need to pay us for it in advance. We just want to know these are the people who are interested, so when it comes, we can get it to you quickly. They make great Christmas gifts.
And they certainly make great gifts for me, as October is International Anchor Month, but we'll talk about that later on. For now, I'm very much looking forward to the book being in hand. Congratulations on a job well done already, because you rightfully merged the now in terms of the AI and making sure that we celebrate and preserve our cultural heritage, and we truly appreciate that, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you. It was a great opportunity for today to preserve yesterday.
And in that case, we are going to get ready to wrap things up here. I am going to make my pre-order, and you can too. But for now, we are taking a break and coming back with more here on the Now Morning Show.